Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for this important announcement. I want to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today on the traditional territories of Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of Credit, First Nation, and the ancestral lands of the neutral people. My name is Aslam Rana, Member of Parliament from this beautiful riding of Hamilton Centre. This is the riding that is the steel production backbone of Canada. This is the riding that's directly in the crosshairs of those looking to undermine our economy. Not only is this riding home to Dofasco, Stelco, National Steel Car, it's also home to thousands of workers and families that had their parents and the grandparents work right here. It's not an exaggeration to say that these factories, this city and this riding would not be where they are without the blood, sweat, and the tears of these workers. The steel industry is our city's identity. It's our economy. It's the livelihood of the countless families in this riding, which is why our government is committed to protecting the livelihood of these families through transformative and strategic measures. To speak more about them, with great pleasure, I would like to invite my colleague, the Minister of International Trade, the Honorable Maninder Sidhu.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. Bonjour et tous. It's great to be here in Hamilton, the steel capital of Canada. Ron, thank you so much for having us here. Of course, I'm joined by my incredible local champions. You just heard from MP Aslam Rana, of course, MP Danko, MP Lisa Hefner, who couldn't be here. She's stuck in Ottawa doing her duties. Of course, Mayor Horwath, and of course, your incredible team here. I just met John, who is the operations manager here on this site for over 41 years. And so, John, you were telling me this plant's been around since 1912, I believe, over 100 years, thousands of employees. This is the lifeblood of this economy, of this community. And so I'm so happy to be here to show my support. Ron, your leadership and the work your team does right here is phenomenal. And it's why Canada's steel sector is one of the strongest and most advanced in the world. We all know this has been a challenging time for steel producers and workers. U.S. tariffs and the uncertainty they create hit communities like Hamilton hard. They hit workers, suppliers, and the small businesses that rely on this entire ecosystem. And that is why our government moved quickly to protect this sector and create new opportunities that will last for decades to come. The Prime Minister laid out a plan earlier this week, and today I'm proud to share that message right here at Dofasco. Canada is protecting our steel industry, strengthening domestic demand, and building a more resilient future for Canadian workers. Let me walk through what that means. First, we are reducing tariff-free imports from non-FTA countries, tightening border compliance to stop dumping and ensuring our market is not undercut by unfair practices overseas. These changes alone will unlock hundreds of millions of dollars into new domestic demand that will support facilities like the one that I'm here at today and keep Canadians working. Second, we are becoming our own best customer. When Canada builds roads, bridges, community centers, and homes, we will build with Canadian steel. Third, we are supporting workers and businesses so they can adapt, grow, and lead the next chapter of this industry. That includes expanding training and income supports, enhanced work-sharing programs, targeted loans to help companies modernize, and the new financing tools through BDC and other federal partners. Across Canada, these measures have protected more than 14,000 jobs and provided relief to nearly 37,000 workers during this period of uncertainty. These protections will continue. And let us be very clear, this is not just about weathering the storm. It's about building a stronger, more resilient future for Canadian steel. Because here is the reality. The generational investments we are making through Budget 2025 in housing, infrastructure, and clean industrial growth will create enormous new demand for Canadian steel. When we build hospitals here in Hamilton, or transit, or bridges, that is Canadian steel. When we expand clean energy projects or manufacture the technologies the world needs, that is Canadian steel. Canada is choosing to build big and we are choosing to build with you. And the world is choosing Canada too. We are seeing historic levels of interest and investments from global partners. They want to build in Canada with Canadian workers and rely on Canadian supply chains. Our message to them and to you is simple. Canada is a premier destination for investments. This is only the beginning, and there is much more coming. Hamilton's steel sector has been at the heart of Canada's economy for over a century. It built this city, it built this province, and it built this country. And now with these new measures, with these new investments, and with the leadership of workers and companies right here at Dofasco, we are building the next century of strength. We are building Hamilton strong. We are building Canada strong. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Minister. Now I would like to invite my friend Ron Bedard, CEO and President of ArcelorMittal Dofasco, to share a few words. Mr. Bedard, please.
Thank you. I would say that ArcelorMittal is not in the position of looking for help from the government. We have over 5,000 employees here and tens of thousands of people on pension that have made a difference in this community for over 100 years. That said, we're under unprecedented attack, and whether we reached out to our colleagues at the city, at the province, or at the federal government, they've all been quick to come, to learn, to understand the threat that we're under, and then to respond. So I applaud the action by the federal government this week. They'll protect the industry, and more importantly, they'll protect tens of thousands of jobs in communities all across Canada. Steel is at the heart of the construction projects that will fuel this country for the next century. I applaud the Prime Minister's Build Canada platform, and steel will be critical to the Build Canada platform. So, Minister, thank you for taking the time to come here today, and more importantly, thank you for the government's tremendous support every step of the way. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bedard. Now I would like to invite our City Mayor, Honorable Andrea Horwath. Please.
Thanks very much, MP Rana. I'm here to say that I am absolutely thrilled with the announcement that the federal government has made. I think it's very, very clear that Hamilton, Canada's steel city, the steel capital of our country, has gotten some really great news from our federal government. And I am grateful to Prime Minister Carney. I am grateful for Minister Sidhu, who is here with us today. Our city absolutely has been built on this industry. So many workers, so many families, so much history here. And what this announcement, what this package of announcements does is make sure that this industry remains strong. And so I'm also very grateful to the leadership of Ron Bedard, who's reached out to me early on, and we have been staying very, very close. The federal government has been very responsive, whether it's on this file, whether it's on other files. I'm grateful for that responsiveness as well, because we are all in this together. And I'm very proud as mayor to be able to be here with you today, and very grateful for the invitation, and most grateful for what you're doing to keep not only our city and our country making great steel, but also making sure that we are supporting workers and other industries that are part of the lifeblood of our country. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Honor. To close out our speaking program, now I would like to welcome my colleague, the Member of Parliament from Hamilton West and Costa Dundas, John Paul Danko. Please welcome.
Good morning. Our product is steel, our strength is people. If you've grown up in Hamilton, you've heard that a million times, and it could not be more true than it is today. Thank you, Minister Sidhu, for coming to Hamilton to make this announcement here. I think it's very important to show in person the support that our government has for the city of Hamilton and the steel industry. Of course, MP Hefner and MP Gould would have liked to have been here, but they're stuck doing their duty in Ottawa. And I apologize for reading from my phone because I came straight from Ottawa this morning. Of course, MP Rana and I are just very pleased to be here in person as well for this very important announcement. And especially I want to thank the industry leaders and the workers who have had to put up with the uncertainty in the market, the uncertainty in the economy, and putting in that hard work each and every day to make a product, make steel that Canada depends on. Thank you. So today's announcement is not just about tariffs or quotas. It's about building resilience. And for far too long, Canada's economy has been overly dependent on one single trade partner. These measures mark, I think, a turning point in that relationship. We're moving from alliance to resilience and from vulnerability to strength. Nowhere is that more relevant than here in Hamilton, the steel capital of Canada and long Canada's industrial center. Our city is home, of course, to ArcelorMittal Dofasco, to Stelco, but also a network of fabricators and suppliers that power everything from housing to infrastructure. I think there's around 10,000 workers that work directly in steelmaking in Hamilton and another 40,000 in ancillary industries in this city alone. So these companies, these thousands of workers, are the backbone of Canada's industrial economy. So here's what these measures mean for Hamilton. Fair competition. These tightened import quotas and anti-dumping enforcement will ensure that Canadian steel mills are protected from unfair trade practices. We're building new demand for Canadian steel. The Buy Canadian policy, the Build Canada Homes program, will create billions of dollars of domestic demand for Canadian steel here in Hamilton and across Canada, and that demand is what the producers here in Hamilton are ready to meet. We're lowering costs, and this is a critical component of this announcement. Cutting rail freight rates by 50% means that more Hamilton steel can move laterally across the country instead of north and south to the US. And that is a real competitive advantage that we're giving to Canada's steel producers. And finally, job security. With over $100 million in work sharing and training supports, we're helping workers stay employed and gain new skills as we shift our market to new opportunities. So this is our moment to lead. Hamilton has been asking for this for years. The tools are now here. Let's seize these opportunities, modernize our industry, secure federal contracts, strengthen our supply chains, and let's show Canada what a resilient industrial economy looks like. And finally, to the workers and the businesses, the families who depend on this sector, the federal government is here with you. Minister Sidhu has been directly involved with this file. The Minister of Industry, Melanie Joly, Minister of Finance, Minister Champagne, all the way up to the Prime Minister himself have been directly involved with the impact of steel tariffs on the steel industry and have been directly involved with the remediation measures coming forward. So together, we're building a stronger Hamilton, a stronger Ontario, and a stronger Canada. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, MP Danko. Now, one thing we parliamentarians always remember, that's a question period. So we are here for your question and answers, and one question, one follow-up, please. And please mention your name and your outlet name as well, media outlet name as well, please. Thank you. Oh, you were supposed, oh, please, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. 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 So what I've heard in my travels from countries in the Indo-Pacific, in Europe, is that they need Canada's energy to grow. And you look at what we're doing here in Canada, we have 7 LNG projects in various stages of development, and so we are creating those energy resources. We have a nuclear industry here in Ontario that I've talked about in the Indo-Pacific, and so yes, we've got the energy that the world needs. We've got many projects in development, and if you look at the major projects office, there are many more projects on that list that are coming in terms of mining, energy, port infrastructure, because we have to hit our $300 billion target of non-US exports within the next 10 years of what the Prime Minister has set. And myself as a trade minister, our team as a government, as MPs, we're working towards that because trade diversification is key to our economic success. So, conversations, as I said, I sat down with India's energy minister just 2 weeks ago, Minister Puri. India needs 70% more energy by 2040, and they're looking at Canada as an option, both clean and conventional oil, to support their energy, support their growth. And there's many countries in the Indo-Pacific that are growing at a quick pace from 5 to 10%, and Canada can step up and support that in terms of agriculture needs, energy needs. But here we're here to talk about steel. We're growing Canada. Many of these major projects will use Canadian steel. We're creating the conditions from this announcement to move that steel from right here at Dofasco to Western Canada. I know, Ron, you were just there in British Columbia to talk about how Canadian steel can be used in many of the major projects. And so today's announcement is a real pivot for Canadian government to support our industry, support the 5,000 workers here, but it's also the ecosystem that it builds. And so it's important to note that our government has stepped up because we know the steel industry plays a really important role in the future of our economic security. Thank you.
Very good.
That's okay. To that question regarding my colleague Stephen, look, I have a great deal of respect for Stephen. We work together, and you know, I'm happy that he's staying as a member of Parliament and still involved in caucus. In terms of your question on environment, I think we can do 2 things at once. I believe that we can step up, protect our environment, but we also can step up and support our economic security. And so the MOU signing between the Government of Canada and the Government of Alberta, if you look at it closely, involves you know, more of a framework around carbon capture, around a pathways project that can remove the equivalent of close to 5 million vehicles off our roads, reduce GHG emissions of up to 90% for just Alberta alone in terms of the cars on the road. And so when you look at it carefully, the MOU has many of these things laid out as a framework saying, what can we do with the environment and the economy hand in hand? And I do believe it's a path forward. Look, I was born in Calgary. I'm an Albertan at heart. I'm an MP from Brampton, but the Prime Minister's role is to work in collaboration with all provinces, all territories, but of course including Indigenous communities. And so that's exactly what we're doing as a government, and it's important to note that I do strongly believe that we can do both, and I stand by the Prime Minister's MOU with the Albertan government.
Good answer.
What I would say is Canadians elected a government back in April to build Canada, to really fight for Canada. And coming back to today's announcement is about protecting and fighting for our workers, fighting for our industries, because if we didn't move forward, we don't know where this industry would have been a year from now. It would have been a very dire situation. And so we're stepping up with additional supports to make sure that we're supporting our domestic industry, because Canada has a lot to offer. When you look at the stability and the reliability that we're creating as a government, the calls that I'm getting as a trade minister is more countries want to do more with Canada. They want to invest in Canada. And I'll give you some recent examples. The German Navy it committed $1 billion for Canadian defense technology. The Prime Minister was in the United Arab Emirates and secured a $70 billion investment for investments here in this country. I was just at Nokia's headquarters in Ottawa, a Finnish company. They're investing $340 million. I was just in Malaysia with the Prime Minister. They secured a 20-year commitment to buy LNG from a facility that's going to be built in a few years from now. And so that really speaks to the conditions that we're creating to build a Canada that works for everyone, works for every single Canadian with major projects. And I think steel here in Canada will play a very important role in that. Yeah, so a very important question of how we're going to be using Canadian steel building Canada. And I think, when you look at what's being built right now, I was talking to Ron, the community centers that we all take our kids to practice to, the walls, the roofs, are made by Dofasco right here in Hamilton. You look at some of the products that are used in the food industry, originate right here in Dofasco. And so there's a lot of opportunities, even in the defense sector, to use Canadian steel. Our defense industrial strategy will be coming out very soon, and within that you're going to see measures that are going to help build our industry, our aerospace industry, our defense industry. And so there's a lot of capabilities for Canadian steels, and I really want to give a huge shout out to the workers here at Dofasco, but also the ecosystem it creates for thousands of workers across Ontario, across Canada, for the economic resiliency and the economic security of our country. This is why we've stepped up to support our industry. We really believe in this industry, and we'll continue to stand by our industry. Yeah, when you talk about, when I look at the numbers and you look at the use of imports in domestic products, Canada, it's around 66% of imports are used in domestic projects. When you compare that to other markets like the US, around 30% of their domestic projects are supported by imports. In the EU, it's around 13% of domestic projects supported by imports. And so Canada is a very big outlier in that, and we need to work on those numbers, and today's announcement will help change those trends to support our domestic industry, because right now the world is in a different place. I spent 13 years in the international trade sector facilitating trade for hundreds of businesses. If you asked me 13 years ago, before I got into politics, what that would mean, it was a very different scenario where we were reliant on one economy. Now, diversifying our trading partners, we need to be able to step up. The world wants what Canada has, and our government is ready to answer those calls. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me in the city.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see you here.